I figured out a way to see what's coming in the stone industry long before it arrives. But before I get into that, please take a quick second, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I really appreciate it. It's free and it helps me out. So, how do I see what's coming before it gets here? Well, I look at other industries, especially industries that are investing more in technology, automation, and things like that. So, I recently went to the Automate trade show in Chicago and I found some interesting things. Today's video is presented by WF Myers. You may know us for our narrow belts, but WF Myers can help out with more products for your mill. Give us a call or visit wfmyers.com to learn more. So first, let's get into why does this approach work? First off, I think the stone industry is rightfully very conservative and very risk averse. You're talking about an environment that's very difficult to work in, a lot of challenges to navigate around, and for an investment to pay off, a quarry or a mill needs to be pretty sure that it's going to deliver before they spend money speculatively. One example of a technology that has been introduced in another industry first and then adapted for use in stone is CNC, or computer numeric controlled milling machines. Now, these were developed in the 40s and 50s for metalworking and became more widely used throughout the metalworking industry up until, up through today, where they're still the primary way of machining metal products. But they were really started to be adapted for stone use in the 80s and 90s. And I think through the early 2000s, we saw a lot of them get integrated into stone mills and really boost production. But when you think about it, that's a pretty long period from when people in metalworking started to mess around with this technology in the 40s. And when we saw a unit that would work for the stone industry and its particular demands come out, starting to get developed in the 80s and then really embraced after that. So that's kind of my parallel that I go to when I think about new technologies, how other industries are using them, and how we might adapt them for the stone industry, and what kind of a timeline we may see them adopted on. I wish I could remember who said this, but I once saw a speaker say, the rate of change today is the slowest we're going to see as we move forward. That means things are going to continue to change faster and faster. Now, whether you buy into that or not, with AI and automation and things of that nature, I think there's maybe a little truth to it at least. So while it may have taken from the 40s in metalworking to the 80s in stone to get CNC technology adapted over, I don't think we're going to see that long of an adoption curve with new technologies as we move forward, because the rate of change is accelerating. We've got more information, we've got better information, we've got just more resources now than people in the 40s or 80s did. So at Automate this year, the first thing that really caught my eye was machine monitoring and data tracking. There are a million different ways to get data from the shop floor and transmit it back to the office. And what will you learn when you know what percentage of your machines are running, at what capacity, where are the problems, where are the bottlenecks, where's the opportunity? Just rather than vibes, put some numbers around it, put some data around it. And I think that we're seeing that very, very widely embraced at the, in what I would call maybe traditional manufacturing, automotive, aerospace, things of that nature. We're already seeing this. And you can probably put it in your stone mill today if you wanted to. There are so many people making sensors. There have to be some that are equipped for the dust, for the water, for the difficult environment that your equipment is running in. But think about it. What would you do if you had insight into what all of your equipment was doing on your shop floor? If data is the new oil, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There are certainly at least some insights you could gain by knowing exactly what's going on your floor. So in short, I think this is an opportunity. I think this is a technology that we are going to see get adapted more and more in our industry. And I think about it in terms of who's running the businesses. And right now, I think we have a generation of business operators who has been doing it for a while and knows their stuff and maybe doesn't need that level of data to make good, informed decisions because they've got 30 years of experience. But if you bring somebody new in, let's say somebody who's an entrepreneur through acquisition or next generation taking over the family business, maybe doesn't have that benefit of doing this for the last several decades and maybe needs to lean on that data or incorporate that data in lieu of that experience. So that's how I could see this get adapted to our industry on a more broad scale. One of the other things that grabbed my eye at Automate was the focus on cobots and sort of what I would call traditional robots, like you might see welding in an automotive plant, things like that. So cobots are more user-friendly, easier to program, have some safety features installed so they can work safely alongside humans. You can train them to do multiple things. You can take them kind of from point to point and adapt them for different uses pretty quickly. I've played around with them before. They're pretty neat. Now, the problem in stone is they're limited by payload. And if I understand correctly, payload is what dictates price. So if you need to move something very heavy with a cobot, that's going to be more expensive. Now, in the stone industry, the stone is heavy, the tools are heavy. So I don't know that I see really a wide range of applications where a cobot makes a ton of sense. Now, maybe robotic arms with tooling on the end to replace or supplement a CNC machine or a stone carver. I think some things like that could make some sense, but I don't think we're going to see widespread use of cobots and what I would call traditional robots just due to the limitations of a stone mill. The last thing that really caught my attention at Automate was humanoid robots. And I think these are still a few years out in a more controlled manufacturing environment. I think they are a even longer way out in stone. Now, in 10 to 20 years, could you see some humanoid robots on your stone shop floor? Yeah, maybe. There are a couple challenges to get over first. Obviously, you've got working in harsh conditions. I think you can design around all that. The humanoids that I saw did not move very fast. They were not super precise. I think that the vision and balance and all of that would have to be really good to walk over an uneven surface or a surface that changes as pallets of stone are added or removed from your shop floor. I think there are a lot of challenges with getting this technology on the floor of a stone shop or on a quarry floor. That being said, I don't think the labor shortage is going anywhere. And, like I said, in 10, 20 years, it's not the most far-fetched thing I've ever considered that, we could see human employees who are getting more expensive and harder to find working alongside fully autonomous robotic coworkers. Strange times, I guess. But I do think that's still quite a ways in the future. So those are my takeaways from Automate. I think data tracking is coming. I think if you are not working on that seriously now, you maybe will be within the next couple of years, or someone at your company will be. I think cobots probably are not a great fit for our industry. You could see them in some niche applications, or somebody smarter than me figures out something to do with them. I could see that happening. Humanoids, very interesting, very sci-fi, still a ways off, not quite ready for prime time yet. So yeah, that's what I found at Automate. And we'll see how it gets applied in general industry and then how it gets specified and applied to stone. So that'll be fun to watch. If you've enjoyed this video, please take a quick second, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I'll catch you next time.